evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Taunton Town Council Grants Committee. I would like to advise everyone present that should the fire alarm sound, you should leave the building immediately via one of the fire exits, which are clearly signposted outside the committee room. Please only use the stairs, don't use the lift. The fire assembly point is in the staff car park at the rear of the Dean House. You should not return to the building for any reason until you've been advised it's safer to do so. Can I remind everyone to please put your mobile phone on silent mode and keep the phone away from any microphones to minimise interference. The meeting is being recorded and is a live webcast, and therefore when speaking, please remember to speak clearly. There are no actual microphones being used today, but the owl in the centre will pick up the voice. I have the discretion to terminate or suspend the recording webcasting if, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings of the meeting. Recording and webcasting of confidential items will also not take place. Please remember, if you leave the meeting room for any reason, you will not be able to take part in the vote on the item being discussed at that time. And please can I request that when speaking, you make your points as succinct as possible to allow for the smooth running of the meeting. Please can I also take this opportunity to remind you to be polite and treat each other with respect at all times. For members of the public wishing to use the toilets, these can be found off the landing immediately outside the committee room. And can I request for anyone who's brought a cup or glass into the committee room, please return it to the kitchen area after the meeting is finished. Thank you. That completes the housekeeping. Apologies received for this evening. Simon Clark and Richard Lease could not be this evening. Any declarations of financial interest in this meeting? Nothing, none recorded. And has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes of the last grants committee meeting? We're happy for them to be signed as an accurate record.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Just a notice to everybody that further to the email from Sally, the Deputy Responsible Finance Officer and Finance Manager, this is snappy time, on Thursday the 4th of January, we have a total of £38,580 in grant applications to be considered this evening, but we have a remaining budget of £20,588 to be awarded. Therefore, realistically, it's unlikely that any one organisation will be awarded more than £2,000 at this stage. I think it's just fair to advise you at this time that is the likely amount that any one organisation may receive. So we have some feedback from previous applicants. Carrie Me Kate previously applied for £2,600 to support parents with advice on slings and breastfeeding and so on. Back in July 23, they were awarded this in full, but £1,600 has now been returned to the Town Council as the CIC has been wound up. The People's Plot Trading's Eat Festival applied for £2,387 previously in July to support community event for the delivery of Eat Taunton, specifically the festive edition, which took place on the 16th of December. It's the largest Christmas market in Somerset and attracted over 15,000 visitors to the town centre, showcasing 100 local food and drink makers and artists, and we've received a completed ending branch report.
I just confirm that the money we received back has gone back into the fund.
Is that
For clarity, that's in the figure that we previously had, so that includes that. Oh,
Yes.
because I thought we were.
I thought not even
That's included in the 20,000 available today. So on to this evening's business. Our first application is from Somerset Artworks, and the representative we have is Carol Carey. Right, would you like to just take a seat there?
They might be aware of Somerset Artworks, the studios that we run, but we also run a year-round community engagement programme, which we've run principally in Taunton focusing on North Taunton and Houghton since 2013. So that's been very sort of regular, and the projects are developed around an understanding around a range of community needs. So we do consultation and we work with a range of partners, and then those ideas are then taken forward. So over the time we've worked with Somerset Wildlife Trust, for example, and we've worked with a range of community and schools around pollinators and nature. We also restored a park for younger children that had been taken over by teenagers previously, and we restored it to for youngsters working alongside Taunton Academy. We've also worked with the community centre around their Jubilee project. So we tend to sort of work with ideas that come to us. So in this instance, this project has come to us from the One team in North Taunton, who have been looking, focusing around encouraging working. This is really around working with safety aspects for girls and young women in public spaces. So we've used Lingford Park over this time to explore a number of different avenues from nature. But increasingly it became clear the violence reduction team were very interested in how young women and girls could become more empowered around public space. There are a number of charities that have been set up over the last couple of years that are really focused around looking at how parks are very often designed from a male perspective, and actually wouldn't it be, it's high time that girls actually had a chance to look at how they might design spaces. So we were approached to see if we could do our usual model, which involves working with a range of different young people and partners. We've worked with a number of schools across the whole of Taunton over our period, from Castle School to Taunton Academy to Heathfield to probably about 5 or 6 of the primaries regularly. We were part of the public health schools programme, and we delivered with 10 primaries in Taunton. So we're well connected in the system, and then we're sort of dependent on working with some of the churches around supporting activities in their youth centres. So this project would be very much putting in creative resources, artists who can help young people, particularly young women, but it wouldn't exclude young men either, because we need some allies around looking at how those sorts of spaces would work. So we have raised some. I saw that actually within the minutes, we put the whole project budget in. We have actually raised £5,000 so far for this project. So we would welcome the opportunity to have some match for the project. That made a huge difference. So we focused the model around Lingford Park, which we're very familiar with the particular issues that face that park, working closely with the One team and the other Somerset Violence Reduction team, who were part of the original request to look at this. So really we're looking for support funding so that we can run sessions. We can also make a film that we can then promote the issues around these public spaces, and it's something which can be applied to not just Lingford Park, but to other spaces as well. We're already working with Holyrood in Chard, for example, which is a part of another town that we're very involved in delivering creativity with a range of partners. Would anyone like to ask me any questions?
There are any questions from the floor? That's Deacon.
Thank you very much. That's really helpful. So I probably declare that I'm the Somerset Councillor for Taunton North. So this is in my Somerset Council division, Lingford Park. Just a couple of questions really, or one particular one, which is you mentioned the park being upgraded in partnership with Taunton Academy. Which park was that? Where was that?
Blackthorn Gardens.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Going on. So it basically had a derelict baseball ground, with derelict netting around it, and the neighbours that surround the park. It was originally designed for little kids, so it's got toys and it's just had things and it's very low key. And then they built this sort of football area, and it was really annoying the neighbours because it was quite derelict. And that was an example. I mean, I wouldn't know that park existed. It was just when we do this event in Lincoln Park, people would talk about, oh, it's such a shame. You know, grannies would say we can't really take our toddlers there because we feel intimidated. So we involved Taunton Academy, and we got a postcode lottery funding for that, and decent funding for improving small pocket parks. So we can often bring match money because through our Arts Council funding, but we can't solely hold, and we've really appreciated the funding that we've had from Taunton Dean because we've received no finance from county since 2008 at all. So we do look at other ways how we can build projects when it's been suggested that there is a need. And Taunton Academy, actually, some of the girls, I think they're actually in year 9, produced a little film about this particular problem, and that's actually embedded in the application.
Your questions covered.
I had another one, but you go first.
Sorry.
Sorry,
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I do have a question, but I just want to proceed it by saying, yeah, I think this is a really good project, and I love the way that you guys work. So it's like responding to needs as they're coming up from the ground, as rather than you going and saying, oh, we'll do a project with you, we'll do this. So it's very much responding to a key need, which is great. And I think that there's a lot of scope for the sort of outputs and outcomes from the project to kind of feed into things, because we need to develop a neighbourhood plan over the next 18 months, for example. So that could look at aspects of it. We've got community services committee, which will be looking to invest in improving our parks. So I think the message for young people could be this: you actually might succeed at, you know, changing something if it's something physical or I don't know, whatever. But I think in any case, what you're doing is a good way. It just shows how arts and culture and that sort of creativity is just perfect for kind of allowing kids to express themselves and to kind of get messages across. So I think it's a great project. My question is, in terms of the artists and producers or whatever that you work with, are they mainly Taunton based, or they come from around Somerset?
Well, because we're a development agency, we do a balance of supporting local artists. We have quite a large programme and engagement. So from any one time, we probably will be, for example, there's a Somerset artist, he's working with Open Door at the moment, and then and in West Somerset we've just wanted a Wellington artist to work. So they tend to be Somerset artists. But for example, we're doing a project, the YMCA in Frome, and that's actually a Bristol artist, because she's got particular skills that really, it's around young people being involved in the redevelopment of the community space. And it's where we need to bring skills in, we will. And also when we brought to do the nature graffiti in Priorswood, I mean, there were kids who really should have been in bed, but they were sitting out talking to him, and you know, just having that chance to meet somebody who you wouldn't normally have a chance to, I think. So it's a balance of local and national.
I've got another thing. It's just regarding the other funding you received. So say you received £5,000 from elsewhere towards this project. I think the total figure you've asked for is 6,800.
Yeah.
Is the 5,000 part of that 6,800, or is it a separate?
We have 3,000 to do the first phase.
Okay.
So, because the whole budget is 9 and comes to about 9.
Gotcha.
So that's the part we've got to do the first consultation phase, which we feel is really important. So any match for the second phase would really, you know, would make a difference when we're putting into other funders.
Yeah.
Because once you've got some, but we're committed to doing the consultation phase because there are actually some researchers who actually live in Somerset who are quite interested in taking this whole idea of young women thinking about what public spaces should look like.
Brilliant. And my final thing says, if I can get involved in the way, please let me know.
Yeah, no,
Be delighted
yeah,
to.
more allied, better.
Councillor Tully.
Thank you. This is not a question, it's a part of question for our officers. If, because of the situation we have with the amount of cash we have to give us time, the lady can reapply in 3 months, can't she? She cannot. When we go to the next financial year?
The policy that's in place states that I did have it. Subsequent successive grant applications in successive years from same organisations for the same or similar purposes will not normally be granted.
That's what I thought. There is no way we can go over that, is there? It does concern me that the lady's asking for and the amount we are able to really donate is not going to be enough, or can you manage with
Oh, yes,
minimum amount we can issue?
yeah, no, I mean, you know, I appreciate the situation, but a small grant towards it helps, because then we can go to other trusts and foundations and say, we've got £2,000, could we try? That's generally.
In which case I would propose offer £2,000.
Do I have a second for that proposal? Councillor Deakin. All those in favour of awarding £2,000.
Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And next we have an application from the Bluebirds Theatre Company, Sasha Herriman.
Hello.
Tell us a bit more about the project.
So I'm Sasha from the Bluebirds Theatre Company, which I co-run with Amy Hardwick, and we're based at Fleet House, which is just over the road. So I'm representing the Bluebirds Theatre Company as an entirety. We've, as an organisation, applied for £5,000. I'm aware, as you've mentioned, that that's not going to be possible. So anything towards that amount obviously is going to be greatly appreciated. Just to explain the project briefly, so we have two elements to it. We have the Music in a Week project, which is based on the opera The Magic Flute, leading to a youth performance at the Tyker Youth Festival on the Opera House, which is our mobile theatre space. In case anybody doesn't know what it looks like, that's what it is. So we're aiming towards the Tyker Youth Festival, and we've liaised with Tyker, and they're very happy for that to happen. This will be a project which is tied in with what they do. And we'd like to run the project at the Brewhouse Theatre or at Fluke House itself. So we would work with the young people in either of those spaces, and then we would go on to do a performance on the Opera House with them. And the second element is a free live professional performance of the Magic Flute reduced on the Opera House, again, our mobile pop-up theatre, and that would be ideally in Taunton in September or on an alternative date. This could be in Goodland Gardens or any similar location. The idea with the whole project is that we run two elements in tandem. It's important for us to run them both in tandem. So we have the youth element where they create entirely their own show, but based on the themes of the Magic Flute. And they work with expert tutors, a composer and a director and musicians to create that. And the second element being a professional show of the Magic Flute reduced. The project, so the first part, the Musical in a Week project, that will benefit Taunton's youth residents particularly, because that's who it's aimed at. And it'll give them access to excellent arts support to create their own music and theatre show. It'll introduce them to creating music for their own version of the Magic Flute. So it's very much, we give them the themes, but they create their own show out of it, using elements that we can provide and help them with. And they work with the composer and with the musicians and theatre makers to create that show, which will showcase in July. And the second part, so the professional show, we feel that will benefit the wider Taunton residents because they get a free professional performance of something which is entirely novel and exciting in their locality, and they haven't got to pay for this. We previously did this with the reduced ring cycle. We took Wagner's entire ring cycle operas of 15 or 16 hours and we squashed them down 60 minutes. And then we performed them on our mobile pop-up theatre. We did it in Goodland Gardens. And it was really exciting because we were able to take something which is seen as elitist and the preserve of a very few people and to bring it bang down to earth and say it's for everybody. It's just like Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. It's got dragons, it's got sword fighting, everything that any kid has ever dreamed of is there, and hey, it's opera. So we want to benefit the wider Taunton residents, so that would be families, older people, younger people, it doesn't matter, it's open to everybody with that dynamic performance. And then we specifically want to educate younger people and give them the opportunity, which they just won't have anywhere else, to actually get immersed in that music, theatre, opera kind of area and to create their own thing. And at the end of a week to say that they have written an opera. Overall, the Magic Flute as an entire project, what we're looking at is creating puppets, so huge life-size puppets, which we'll use on the Opera House, and we will later on use those after the project is over to run workshops in schools, primary schools, secondary schools, taking those elements with us. And on the Opera House, when we do the full professional show, that will be with those life-size puppets, that'll be with 4 opera singers, and we'll have an electric band. So we're not going to have an orchestra, we'll have electric cello, electric violin, digital piano and a flute. So it's Mozart's opera, rewritten in 60 minutes, set in a circus. It's exciting and it's fun. And we know that nobody else is doing this around here. I do appreciate that it can seem slightly frivolous. Magic flute, opera, that kind of music style, what's the place for it? But I think there is a place for it. It's the arts and it's exciting and it's fun. And it's something that will get young people fired up and enthusiastic about a possible career in the arts, or perhaps having the arts as something extra that they do, which will help them with their health and their well-being. Any questions?
Councillor Ellis.
I think it's a fantastic project. I don't know if you all saw the reduced ring cycle, but oh my God, it is incredibly exciting. That before is just sort of riveting and innovative, and so I can't wait for the Magic Flute. It's going to be absolutely stonkingly amazing. My question, I love the fact that you're linking it in with the youth workshop. My question is about how you're going to go around recruiting young people to take part, what sort of avenues and how many people, young people, are you thinking to involve?
Yeah, I mean, we want to involve as many young people as we can, so we're not going to close the doors to anybody who wants to take part. We'll recruit young people through the places that we work at in schools. So I work widely in secondary schools. I teach singing, I teach music. So any place that I work, I'll be recruiting. Also schools that I previously worked at, so Castle School, Bishop Fox's School, Heathfield. We'll be canvassing for young people there. Also through the Brewhouse Theatre, from week after next, I'll be running a youth music programme there, a youth choir. So we're hoping that young people will come along to that. And then the people that are involved in that, I'm hoping will be able to be moved towards taking part in this project. Also through TICA, so through their publicity channels, they'll be advertising it heavily, trying to get young people involved. So I think we are probably erring on the side of, we're anticipating and hoping that we'll get too few rather than too many. Too many rather than too few. You get where I'm going. Mixing my words up. We hope we'll have too many, and we don't want to close the doors to anybody. If you've ever seen any kind of music, theatre or opera, you'll know that they have big choruses. So anybody can take part and they can do anything. They don't have to sing. They can do stage management, production, directing, writing, creating music, making tea, doesn't matter.
Is there a charge involved for
No.
youth participants?
No, the whole idea, the whole premise is that the whole project is free at the point of delivery, so no one has to pay anything, which means that there's no reason for anybody not to take part.
Are there any more questions?
Just do one more.
That's fine.
The same as I asked the last lady, with the, the amount we could give, how would you raise the rest? Because I see how much you've asked for.
It's a patchwork. So we continue our funding drive, applying to different organisations for small amounts of money. And once we get that total, we're able to deliver a project. We're also able to part deliver this project. So if we can't get the full funding to do the professional show, we will do the youth part of the show first, because that's a primary commitment. So July is the date we've got set for that.
I hope you all the best of luck on it, because I think youngsters do like opera. I was surprised. I went to a ballet recently. I was surprised how many youngsters who actually went to the ballet.
Yeah, it's always an eye opener.
It is. They do take it.
I remember I did an opera workshop when I was at secondary school. I can remember it. It's had a lasting impression. I know an opera singer in me really.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I still remember it now. It was wonderful. So yeah, no, fully supportive.
Yeah, well, if you get kids to sort of imitate opera, they love it.
Can I propose then that we offer the £2,000 that we've notionally allocated, seconded by Councillor Ellis? All those in favour of the ordinate amount?
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Oh, yes. So, yes, once you've made your presentation, you're welcome to stay and watch everyone else. If you want to park, that's absolutely fine. Next, we have an application from Citizens Advice Somerset. That's Angela Kerr. Hi.
Sorry, everyone. I'm back here. A bit difficult to hear from there for us, audience, so I'll try and speak quite loud. So good evening, councillors. I'm Angela. I am a CEO at Citizens Advice Somerset. We have asked for some help towards our running costs. And I think you may be aware that we merged 4 independent advice charities on the 1st of October to achieve economies of scale, but also greater specialism. And I've sent some stats through about the Taunton specific population that we help. Our service in Taunton is our flagship service in many respects, and historically we have always had a great deal of enthusiasm and support from Taunton volunteers. And what we want to try and do within the budget pressures that we face, so we do receive funding from Somerset Council and we really appreciate that. It is going to reduce, we've had that confirmed. And so our strategy around that is to increase the number of volunteer advisors that we support, but that in turn comes with direct costs. So it's about 20 weeks to train a volunteer advisor, and because a lot of the work we do is very confidential, it might surprise you to know that all our volunteers are using a device we've issued, and we give them a very cyber secure environment. And I think the other aspect of Taunton, although the population of the area might be lower than some of the other areas in Somerset, this is one of our highest needs for clients with complex lives and complex advice needs. And that usually involves us offering them several sessions and face-to-face sessions. So keeping the front door open in Taunton and being really easily accessible is a priority for us. So just helping with those costs would be much appreciated. The kind of issues that our clients are coming with, there'll be no surprises, I'm sure. But there's food need. We work very closely with Trust and the other food providers, the energy providers. Centre for Sustainable Energy, we issue energy vouchers to clients. So we're seeing that immediate crisis and then the underlying advice issues. And I hate to be the bringer of bad news. I think with increased council tax rates for the next financial year, we might see more families in the households that are going to find it really hard to manage. And often people or families in those situations, they really want to build trust with an agency they know. So it is helpful to have an agency on the ground that neighbours can come to and signpost other neighbours too. So we're working hard to keep a very strong presence in the area. I don't know if there's any questions.
Ask one if I can. It's not a question because I fully support you 100%. I used to be a director, unfortunately, for that citizen's advice when they were across the road. I've got no questions as such too, because I think the money, we should be at the maximum we can give. And I will propose it. That question.
Are you proposing £2,000?
I am proposing
I'll
to
second that.
All those in favour? Very happy to award that.
Thank you, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Next, we have an application from Fuse Performance, Sally Mann and John Lee. Just Sally Mann, is it?
It is Sally Johnson, apologies. Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit more about your application?
Yes, so my name is Sally Mann and I am representing Fuse Performance and Somerset Outdoor Arts. We're a non-profit making organisation, and we've applied for £3,000 to fund a co-creative event called Emerge, which is a springtime event. My glasses on. So Fuse will create an immersive nature event in and around Goodlands Gardens on Saturday, April the 6th, starting at 6:30 p.m. The audience can explore a colourful, larger-than-life nature trail with sculptures, sound, visual installations, live music and performances. On the day, there will be making activities, stalls, food and drink, and there will also be skills workshops preceding the event. So this event will benefit Taunton's residents by connecting the participants with the nature, Taunton's nature and green spaces and Taunton history, and enhance residents' and visitors' experience and enjoyment of Taunton seen in a new light. The event will showcase the talent of diverse groups and communities involved in the making of the work between January and April, developing skills within these engaging workshop programmes in Halken and Taunton Town Centre Explore Academy, who are based with Fluke House and Kick in April. This project will bring together people from different backgrounds and areas of Taunton as a participatory, inclusive and accessible community event. The event will showcase the talent of Taunton diverse groups and communities involved in the making of the work, developing different skills with engaging workshop programmes. And the event will showcase the talent of those wider communities involved in the works. So this event brings together professional artists to develop new and innovative works, bringing different communities in Taunton together. Young people and families will benefit from Street Links, award-winning creative hub in Halken, by increasing their confidence, working with a digital artist to create sound installation and performances, music for digital light and fire performances, creating a memorable fire and light immersive nature event. The event will add value to the Taunton Town Centre events programme and will include output from the workshops preceding this event. So Taunton residents will experience a nighttime accessible inclusive event with accompanying early evening workshop programme led by experienced creative workshop leaders. Professional and emergent artists will work alongside each other to co-create new works and help raise the profile more generally of Explore, Street Links Creative Hub, Fuse Performance and Somerset Outdoor Arts projects events in Taunton. I was going to ask before I arrived here, but I didn't get the chance because I had to be redirected around a flood. But whether this event may suit a sponsorship event instead of the Taunton Town grant. So I wanted to seek advice, so apologies for not doing that before. So recently we've created an event at Fine Court and produced events as part of Routes to the River Tone in Taunton and Summerfest events. And we're keen to bring our immersive nature fire and light events to Taunton. So this is what we're sort of working on for this now, especially around nature and environment, which is really important in our work. Any questions?
So just answer your question, I think we have no further funding left in our sponsorship budget this year, so it would be from the grants fund. But that's not to say that in future years you could apply for sponsorship. I'd have that discussion for next year potentially. Thank you. Councillor Ellis.
I'm so super excited about this, I can't tell you. And I love the fact that, you know, we're creating, you know, people are out there creating amazing events throughout the year. You need a cultural calendar that runs throughout the year. I can see this event being super duper popular, and it's got so many exciting ones. Have a question, 2 questions. First question, have you talked to the Shed about them opening up? Because the vibe when there's a sort of a evening time event in Goodlands where the Shed opened up is like really cool, because they did it with Sound of the Streets and it was really awesome. And the other question is given our financial at this time, is it, I mean, presumably it's like there's bits you'll be pulling together bit, you know, sorry that I know how it goes from here, there and everywhere, but presumably if we were to award you less than, but something towards that, you'll still be kind of like wanting to forge ahead with this, I hope, because I kind of think, I'm wondering whether some element you might get a bit of additional business sponsorship for maybe the event itself. So I would definitely encourage you to sort of stick with it, even if we can't give the full amount that you've asked for. Is that a question?
Two questions. One was the Shed, and we've worked with the Shed before with Summerfest, and that's been really good. And the other people we're talking to is the museum as well, because we really want to you know, a lot of our work is site specific, so it's about really looking at the places and bringing out stories of the place, and working with the museum is something we've done over many years, supporting their events as well as their, you know, supporting our events. So that's an area to develop. And then your other question was, yes, we always look for other funding. So any funding that we can match fund with is really important, like all arts organisations, and and especially now, you know, in this current climate. So
Anyone wanted to make a proposal, Councillor?
I would like to propose, this is going to be a bit of a common refrain this evening. I'd like to propose that we award £2,000 to Fuse.
Seconder for that proposal, Councillor Deakin. All those in favour? Excellent.
that's lovely. Thank you so
Looking forward
much.
to the event.
Thank you.
Yes. And our next application is from Go Create Taunton CIC, and that's Jenny Keogh. That's a little bit more about the project.
Yeah, so we're a community company. I think probably most of you know some of it. We provide community arts events in Taunton, using the arts as a vehicle to sort of home in on minority groups and areas that need support and help and wellbeing. This project is a pilot scheme that we'll be running at the Arts Hub with on a weekly basis supporting over 50 young children, well, young people and adults, many of which are vulnerable, and using the arts to empower and increase and support their mental health, and also offer them an education via Arts Award for young people. And this it's been amazing. It's been really positive. And it's changed people's lives. It's a lovely list here of testimonials, so I can share their voices, which is what it's all about. But we have been very lucky to be Arts Council funded for the scheme that we've been running for the last year. So we've had a home ed class for young people. We've got Wellbeing Wednesdays for adults, many of which have got mental health issues and other various disabilities. And we've recently been working with adults with dementia, using the arts to promote their health and wellbeing, and also offering support for their carers at quite a difficult time. So we really need, we've got an end of our our funding at the end of March, and we want to continue it because it's been such a lifeline for so many people until we get our further funding through to continue it for a longer term. That's what we'd like.
And what is the time gap between your funding any for this bit, the trial, and then your?
There's a space of 3 months, so we'd really like to be able to continue it because a lot of people get lost, and you know, for many it's, you know, part of that routine and really helping their health and well-being. So we want to, if we can, to continue that. We built it up and we don't want to lose it, just as it's really doing a lot of good.
So you've applied for a slightly larger amount. What would the impact be if we couldn't award you the full?
I think it's a matter of anything we can get. It's really gratefully received. Yeah.
But a partial award still enable you to carry on some of the work.
Yes. Yes.
Some of the classes will go ahead, or you'd just be able to scrub around and find funding elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, as a community interest company, we are forever applying for funding. That's how we fund all the projects that we do. And, you know, sometimes we're lucky enough to actually be able to pay ourselves to do things, and other times it's voluntary, but we have all got rent to pay, and, you know, so it's yeah, we do what Go Create to continue to be able to do all the other fabulous things that we do. But yeah, we're used to cap in hand. It's what we do. We've done it for 10 years and hopefully another 10 years.
Got any other questions from the panel?
I wouldn't have a question. I'm very familiar with the work that goes on over there, and I think it's an amazing thing for Taunton. That building was once going to be demolished, and you've absolutely transformed it. And it's, from what's going on in there, it is amazing. The breadth of it, and I know you have. It's not this funding ask isn't for the Saturday Ukrainian group, but there's been amazing work with refugee kids. You know, it's provided all sorts over there, and it's obviously vital we support it. So, given our financials, I propose that I would definitely propose an award of 2,000, and sorry, we can't bump it up at this time. So that's a proposal.
Seconded from Councillor Tully, and all those in favour of awarding £2,000? Yes. That 220. Would you like to mention the youth grant?
If you haven't heard, there is a youth grant round coming up, which this doesn't preclude you from applying for, which is a 3-year term up to, with exceptions, a maximum of £5,000 a year for the next 3 years. If you want some information, I can share it with you. It's on our website. There is an application, and that would give you 3 years worth of guaranteed funding as long as you give us the information each year. So it's youth specific.
Yes. We're just about, we're applying for further funding for a new group in collaboration with Mind for their youth projects, working with young people, offering them safe space and support to be creative, for young people who are on the waiting list for CAMS. So we've got lots of other things that we really want to do, but it's just, you know, having to get that money together for things. That would be perfect for that.
Stay in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have an application from the Grand Western Greenway Association. That's Charles Biscoe.
Hello.
Tell us a bit more about the project.
I will, with pleasure. I'm Charles Biscoe. I chair the Grand Western Greenway Association, and I think some of you have probably had to listen to me presenting to different committees, so I'm sorry I'm repeating what I'm saying. The Greenway Association has been campaigning over a long period of time, but specifically as an association for the last 12 or 14 months. We had a fantastically successful year in 2023 with lots of milestones being hit. As an organisation, we work in partnership with others. Most notable amongst them are the Friends of the Grand Western Canal, the Greenways and Cycle Routes charity, who are currently building the Strawberry Line, the other part of Somerset. They're extraordinary organisation. And Sustrans are partnered with us, but we're also supported by other organisations, local businesses, particularly Somerset NHS Foundation Trust, the Somerset Integrated Care Board, Wellington Town Council, who've been immensely supportive towards us, many parish councils that we've spoken to, and quite a number of businesses and colleges, Richard Hewish in particular, and a number of businesses who are located along the route that we plan to do. And our goal is to build a greenway between Wellington and Taunton. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the term, a greenway is an active travel route used by all sorts of people who are travelling without burning fossil fuels whatsoever. So people on bicycles, people on foot, people wheeling, people using electric bikes, using tandems, using cargo bikes, using mobility scooters, using whatever they can to use this route through beautiful countryside that runs along the river valley between Taunton and Wellington. The only people we're not terribly welcoming to, I have to admit, are people riding horses. Horses tend to destroy routes like this. They put tons of pressure into the so this is something that has become increasingly imperative, especially as Somerset Council strives to reduce its carbon output by well over 50 to 58, nearly 60%. And routes like this create what they love to call a modal shift, where you move people out of cars and onto more sustainable forms of transport. And our modal shift would clearly be from people travelling between the two towns on the A38, well, actually people mostly parked on the A38, onto a route. And if we could take one or two of those commuter journeys every week, that would actually achieve, if you could do that across the whole county, you would achieve that 58% reduction. Actually, it's about 48% in transport. Being a big rural county, we're heavily dependent on car transport, so moving that is really important. So we've got many goals, but most of those are helped by the fact that the Greenway route is completely flat between Taunton and Wellington, which makes it immensely accessible to all groups of people. So from the very young to the very old, from the very physical to the not so physical, the able to the disabled. We see people using it as a means of accessing nature and gaining the benefits from the mental health and physical health improvements. And we know that for every pound we invest in an active travel route, you'll see a return of about £5.61. That's the Department for Transport figures, it's not mine. And 90% of that gain is through health benefits. We also see it locally as a really important way of linking communities. And in particular local communities to us. So, for example, Norton Fitzwarren to Taunton is a really important element to give a traffic-free route from the centre of Norton Fitzwarren right into the centre of Taunton. Between Bishop's Hull and Taunton, that's a really important route. And between Bradford-on-Tone and Wellington, and between Ninehead and Wellington, and other communities in between. And those sort of local community links are extremely important, because you're not just relying on one big group of people travelling to another group of people. You're seeing people travelling all around this sort of, you create a network. We are a community-led organisation. We're not just an organisation that is just turning up on the front door of Somerset Council and saying, we demand that you build us a route. We intend to build the route ourselves in the way that the Strawberry Line is being built at the moment. Some call us a guerrilla organisation, but you know, in this financial climate, it's the only way we're going to achieve anything is by having a phased approach to building sections of this route over what we know will be several years. You know, phase one will be from Wellington to Ninehead, and at the same time, or closely after that, will be from Taunton to Norton Fitzwarren. You know, two really important goals. The way we'll pay for it, I have no idea. No, I do. The way we'll pay for it is that we will, in partnership with the council, we'll apply to Department for Transport because we're linked in with the canal. We look to transforming a very old and very successful means of transport into something that can be repurposed for the 21st century. So we can apply to the Heritage Lottery Fund to seek to make the extraordinary industrial archaeology of that largely unknown piece of canal available and accessible to all sorts of people. And of course, one day Somerset Council will have some money one day, and they might give us some as well. The reason we've come to you today is that we are a fairly young organisation, and we are only asking for a very small amount of money by comparison. The reason for that being is that we hope to come back to you again. I mean, you choose to give us more money if you like, but at the moment we just need to get going with our communications, with building and paying for our website, getting our email programs going, just getting ourselves off the ground. And in doing so, we know that at some point we will come back and we'll be looking to fund particular studies and surveys that need to be done for any sort of route. So at the moment, we look for your generosity over this small amount of money in the hope that we may be able to come back and ask you for more at a later date.
Do we have any questions from the panel? Councillor Ellis.
It's incredibly exciting, and I really enjoyed your presentation at the Alton LCN. I can see it as being huge, and I think that it will be a question you'll be able to bring together all the parish councils, all different interest groups, because the benefits are so enormous. I can see it being a bit, really popular project. How long though do you reckon it will in your mind, 5 years, 10 years?
Oh, I think a lot of it depends on the political climate that we find ourselves in. What we've done in the first year is that we've made friends. We've gone out and talked to hundreds of thousands of people. We've signed up 400 people as subscribers to our organisation. Our next phase, now that we know that we've got political support from parish councils and town councils and from Somerset Council, is to start the process of negotiating with landowners. And that's either end is a very positive thing. We're coming to talk to the town council this week about that. I think a lot of that will depend on how well we are able to engineer the route. But if we do get this next year, the next 18 months, gets landowner permissions moving forward, I aim for 5 years to see this done in. That's my personal goal. If we got it done in 3, that'd be fantastic. If it takes 10, I don't care. We'll get it done. It's taken over 15 years to get the Strawberry Line to where it is now. So, we're realistic about this stuff. That's why we do it in phases. 5 years.
I can hang on for that. Get a rickshaw to stick me in the back of.
Any more questions? I'm very excited about this project. I think it's great. I look forward to us as an organisation being involved.
Oh, good.
Further down the line in some capacity. I think it's a great thing for the town. I'd like to propose awarding the full amount that was asked for, which was £500 at this early stage. Second that. Councillor Lees, second that. All those in favour?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have an application from the Somerset Bus Partnership, and that's David Northey.
Evening.
Good evening.
So my name is David Northey. I'm from the Somerset Bus Partnership, an organisation that was started as part of the government's Bus Back Better programme, and it was about creating voices for local communities and local bus users, which up to then had not really existed. I think since COVID and the government's decision to sort of make buses there seem to be, we don't want people to use buses, and we've had this really major decline. And so this is the first time, certainly in Somerset, that bus passengers have started to have a voice, and we're the sort of campaigning group for bus passengers and future bus users. And as Charles was saying, it's all about sort of green issues, but as well as sort of economic sort of benefits with the sort of £1 fare that we have here in Taunton and the £2 fare that we have across the county, is making aware of sort of what buses can do and what buses can do for the economy. It's interesting, I was looking at some old timetables. We've lost nearly 50% of our bus services in Somerset since 2007. I was really staggered with the amount of buses that we've lost, but the population is increased so vastly, and we only have to look here in Taunton in relation to traffic congestion and realise, is there a connection between the decline in the bus network and the increase in sort of car usage in the town? So part of our campaigning is saving routes. We have 3 routes here in Taunton that are under threat, which is the route to Wiveliscombe and Delverton, the route to Langport, Somerton and Yeovil, and even parts of the route to Bishop's Lydeard and Minehead are under threat. So we're constantly campaigning and being that voice of sort of bus users across the county. So we have a small bus group here in Taunton, which I'm part of. There's one in Bridgewater and Wellington and Yeovil. So we all join together to form that sort of campaign group, really to seek not only local engagement, but also engagement with the government and saying, well, actually, we need to fund our bus network because buses are the future for helping towards that sort of green sort of transformation and the reducing of carbon. So part of our ask, and I can understand about the financial issues, and we're on a bit of a journey like Charles, really. So we've had some money from Bridgewater, we've had some money from Yeovil, and I'm sure that we could seek funds from everywhere else, but we're at the moment just in that start of that journey of getting funding in. And so anything sort of would help to contribute. What we use the money for is to run bus stands, which we've done here in Taunton. So it's providing basic covers like a gazebo and a table for us to be protected when we're trying to engage with people. Doing marketing, because most marketing by the bus operators now is all online, but we want to reach those people that don't have online as well and bring things together and use our own social media opportunities as well via Facebook and sort of websites and everything, again, promoting bus travel, as well as sort of campaigning with the campaigning and sort of targeting the government and saying, look, okay, well, we need further funding. Rural communities, again, Charles and somebody else mentioned earlier, that we're in a rural community, but not everybody in the county has cars. It's quite a high percentage of people that live here in Taunton, although you wouldn't believe it when you travel in Taunton, you think, where are all these cars coming from? Generally short journeys. When you think you can go from Priorswood to the centre of the town for £1, why would anybody drive? That's because the bus service needs adapting. We need to get Priorswood to the hospital or from Whole Way to the station. So parts of the town are connected, not just the parade. So that's all part of our purpose. And any funding that would be available would be helpful. And we'll carry on campaigning with other authorities to sort of help us keep that voice going, really.
Do I have any questions from the panel?
No, just to say that it's not a question, but I think what you were doing, it certainly worked in my instance. So you've definitely accused Charles to a modal shift for me. So
Yeah.
I live in North Taunton and I would instinctively drive into town. I've got the bus more in the past 3-4 months than I have in the past 3 to 4 years, I would say, because of lots of the messages that I know you and similar groups have been putting out. So I think what you're doing is starting to work. We're starting to see numbers coming through. We just got to keep going. So
and that's, and I think that's in that journey where we are. We've started to make people aware. I think the next bit's the hardest bit to then sort of right. Okay, well, we need a much better bus service. So we're working with First and having really good discussions with them about, well, how can we get a better service out of the number of buses they've got? Because again, it's all about money at the end of the day to make it much more amenable to people accessing it and accessing places that people want to go to. So,
any more questions? Have anyone who wants to make a proposal at this stage? Councillor Tully.
It's going to have to be 2,000 again, I'm afraid. Best we can do.
No, and that's really helpful because we're going off to other authorities about it's a journey that we're on. to Wellington and Bridgewater and North Petherton, and there'll be amounts that will help us keep going to that next phase. So it's much appreciated.
May I say something, Chair? There are a lot of parish councils between here and Bridgewater.
Yes, yes,
You
yeah,
should try one or two of those.
yes,
So,
yeah.
Do you have a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Ellis, and all those in favour of making the award?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Cheerio.
Cheerio, thank you.
Next, we have an application from St John's Ambulance, and that's Louise Jones. Hi.
Can see others around the corner now.
Tell us more about your project.
Yes, please. As mentioned, I'm from St John Ambulance. I'm the local community fundraiser. And we initially applied for 2,500, but I appreciate the size of grants we've got on offer, towards purchase of a community support unit vehicle, CSU for short. I'll use that because it's quite a mouthful. It's going to be based in our Taunton hub. We have very active units in Cannon Street, where we've operated for a number of years, and it's bigger than just a vehicle. We've designed these vehicles specifically for our volunteers. Within Taunton, we have 64 cadets and 31 adults, and combined with the Wellington unit, that makes over 150 volunteers who are actively operating from that hub alone. To get to an event to support a community, so either an event where we're supporting first aid or providing information, advice and guidance and training in the community for free, usually means that our volunteers have to travel in their own vehicles, and taking equipment such as gazebos, mannequins, communications equipment, etc., is a task in itself. So these vehicles encompass all of that as a first aid post, so it's a mobile first aid unit effectively. But bigger than that, it also allows our volunteers to decompress in following an incident. At the moment, they need to find a quiet space, which might be in the gazebo, and some might be being treated for a first aid incident. So we recognise the value of allowing those volunteers and those volunteers having that time and space to actually just calm down and seek some support themselves. Equally, the vehicle includes basic things such as tea and coffee making facilities, a microwave so they can have something warm to eat on a cold night like this when they might be stood outside. I appreciate it's an unusual request because the vehicle is going to be based in Taunton, but will serve the whole of Somerset. It's quite an unusual county. I live in Devon, and I know it's quite a broad mix of rural and town as well, the M5 right way through. So we know that Taunton never had its own dedicated vehicle, which is why we want to base it here, so that it's immediately accessible for our volunteers, specifically here. It's quite a big and varied hub. Sorry, I was trying to thought now. We support, I don't know how much you know about St John Ambulance and what we actually do, because often people see us in our ambulances, but one of the biggest things that we are just about to launch actually is a huge community strategy where we're taking first aid back into the community so that people can learn 3 ways to save a life. Part of that is to support communities and make them much more resilient from a health perspective, but also take some pressure off paramedic services. So if someone doesn't need to go to the emergency services, so they can treat their own wound, as an example, then that could save a life. If we can treat people for cardiac arrest because people have the knowledge of how to conduct CPR or use defib, that is a massive impact. So from this year onwards, we're going to be going out into massive communities, anything from small, tiny little villages and parishes right through to bigger towns, and delivering first aid sessions for free as well, not just through our own training, but community services. I'm personally working with quite a lot of other charities as well through the Co-op Local Causes scheme, where we are going to be offering them free sessions as well to support the groups that they support. Because as I say, we recognise, but this vehicle is central to that because it means that our volunteers can go out and do it. Without that, we're relying on them to make sure they've got transport, but also they've also got all the equipment with them. So that's kind of where we are.
you very much. Have I got any questions from?
And you shouldn't have mentioned she was from Devon across the board.
Yes.
So I'm fully supportive of the project. I appreciate that, it's going to cover a wider area than Taunton, but we will see, I'm sure, significant benefit in this community. And obviously, the amount you've asked for, that's a small part of the funding for the vehicle. So, even if that's just our our buy-in for that, that seems like a very, very good deal, considering the service that you provide.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the, as a fundraiser, I always look at multiple sources of funding, but the key thing for this vehicle is the broader and the wider appeal that it can reach through funding means that it really is a community-based vehicle, and pockets of communities have donated very small amounts, others have donated larger amounts, and that's the whole point, is that everyone will have a piece of this, and it will be going around and touring around when we get it later in this year. So yeah,
Great asset. Very happy to propose that we award the £2,000 discussed previously. Seconder, Councillor Tully. All those in favour?
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
We have an application from the Taunton School Pastors. So apologies. How do you pronounce their surnames?
That's a challenge, isn't it?
I should have asked in advance, shouldn't I? I don't want to offend you by absolutely
It's Mike Cherniak, and I also have Adrian Price-Sankey, who's the head of the Taunton Street Pastors. And exhibit A. So, if you're not familiar, street pastors are basically a mobile safe space on the streets of Taunton. You'll see them on a Saturday night helping out people in all sorts of problems. We're pastors, not preachers, so although it's Christian based, it's completely open for anybody who needs any help. We will help them. Listening ear, sometimes just being a sober, reliable witness can have a negative impact on crimes being committed. We do things like we've expanded the Saturday night work, and we now have litter picking activities in Halcon and Priorswood. And you might think, what's the point of that? Well, it helps tidy up the community for one thing, keeps us out on the streets and able to help people. When there was a stabbing in Halcon, I was actually on patrol, and a lot of people were coming up to us just for reassurance and saying, can you tell the police if we see these two people who perpetrated it are seen? And a couple of weeks ago, I picked up a canister of nitrous oxide, or some people call it laughing gas. I don't think it's very funny when it stops your heart from working. And that 1 kilo canister could have filled 500 balloons. So that's the work perhaps you're more familiar with. This initiative that we're asking for some support towards is about taking street pastors into the school, so we can start to be a bit proactive with young people, where we're going to get the really long lasting impact. Adrian.
Well, I'm delighted most of you know about North Taunton, and the Perland School, as we must now call it, welcomed us some years ago to both extend our patrols in the school area at the end of the school time. We're not, it's very difficult to try and get the emphasis right. We are a friend, a neutral friend, if you like, to the students. We're a friend of the community. The shops love us because inevitably vast numbers of youngsters can just be intimidating, even if they don't intend any problems. But sadly, kids being what they will, sometimes there can be issues. But then within the school has worked very hard. Actually, it's done very well with its Ofsted reports, pulled its socks up. And rather than kick kids out, the intention is try and keep the kids within the school environment, to continue to engage. Very easy to push kids away, but try and keep them can be a real challenge. So with the help of volunteers, and I have to say we're largely older folks, semi-retired or retired. I just want to give you one illustration. Pete McKegney, himself a retired school teacher, was a superb volunteer. And we had one young pupil, I'll call him Jim because obviously we don't give names away, who was just not attending school, had opted out. And I said, well, what's he into? Well, actually, he likes bikes. So Pete said, well, I can do a bit of bike maintenance. So get him to bring his bike into school. He'd all but given up going into lessons. Pete just spent quality time with him, got to know him on a one-to-one basis. And from doing his own bikes, repair the brakes, cleaning the bike up, oiling it and so on. Anyone else got a bike that Jim can work? Yeah, and Jim had a little sideline going, purely on a free will. But it got him back into the school campus. So he was engaging with his mate. Oh, all right, Jim, yeah. And then got, with Pete sitting at the back of the class, got Jim back into the classroom. I'd love to tell you he was a grade A student, got straight, because he didn't. But we salvaged something of Jim's educational career. And I'm afraid it's the Starfish principle. It's one child at a time, although some 800 youngsters go through the school. I personally go in on a Wednesday lunchtime and we engage with the youngsters. There's no pushing. I mean, I play Uno endlessly with them, but it's often the quietest kids who come up and then they start asking questions, what you're doing here. One of the most rewarding things, and again, in today's society, it's a worry to us, is that kids are not reading as they should. So kids tell us they love to come out of their geography lesson or whatever for 20 minutes one-to-one hearing them read. They are second, third, fourth pupils who are struggling to read and will be acutely embarrassed in front of their friends. But a bloke who's got no axe to grind is willing to sit and listen and give them a bit of encouragement. Yeah, if you put emphasis on that word and tell me about this stuff. Yeah, I love this. They choose the books. I have to say I've seen it firsthand, the difference we make. And that's what it's about. Sadly, these things that volunteers don't happen. Pete's no longer with us, died of cancer last year. We need to recruit, we need to retain, we have encouraged our friends in Clanton, Tiverton and Minehead to set up similar schemes, but our scheme needs to do. There is inevitably all the safeguarding stuff. We want to be the best supporters we can to the youngsters. And so we have a 4 hours a week, a tiny little administrative post that we want to continue to fund to make the team function both in the school and in the community. And that's what we're about.
Have I got any questions from the panel?
No, not a question. I mean, very busy. Comment. Yeah, thank you. It's amazing what you do against in my patch. So it's great to hear it. So thank you for sharing. I'd love to come and join you at some point.
Honestly, we welcome in both daytime and nighttime. We would welcome any of you.
Tomorrow afternoon.
Lucky to come on what we call observe.
Yeah,
the mayor was out the week before Christmas with the nighttime folk.
Yeah.
And obviously subject to the schools and protocol because it's their environment.
Yeah, of course.
They would welcome you to come and see what we do, and the kids would love it. They actually, really are quite amenable, despite some images of young people put out in the media. Absolutely great. Yeah.
Can I just say something?
Councillor Lees.
Yeah.
I went out as an observer with the
Yeah.
nighttime street pastors a few years ago now, and I saw firsthand just how respected they are around town. People come and just chat to them generally, and it was just an eye opener. Brilliant what they do. Got a lot of time for them.
Thank you. That's quite interesting. After the last speaker, we all have first aid training. We know where all the defibrillators are in all the towns we cover and fun stuff like that. Not all just lollipops.
Yeah.
It's an excellent initiative, so thank you for all the time that you put into it. It really, it is really appreciated through the community, I know.
That's lovely to hear.
Councillor Deacon.
Can I propose the £2,000?
Absolutely.
Every
really
makes a
appreciate it.
All those in favour?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both.
You there. We now have an application from the Turner Allotment Association as Jeff Moen and Colin Campbell.
Thanks for all your administrative help.
Thank you for waiting, gentlemen.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Bourne. I'm the treasurer at Turner's Allotments. I submitted the application form for grant funding, and also because I was led to believe I'd have very little time given the number of applications that are coming tonight. I did send through a supplementary paper, which I hope you've all had sight. It just set out a bit of the background to our organisation, which is probably known to some of you, but not all. And also our thinking about rainwater harvesting. I've got with me tonight Alan Cavell. Alan, as well as being a fellow plot holder at Turners, is also an officer of the National Allotment Association in the South West region. And Alan has been instrumental in setting up quite a number of allotment sites in Taunton and in Somerset generally. So given that we've given you that information, do you want me just to go straight into your
That's fine,
question?
yeah, I think everyone had a chance to look at the extra
Thank you.
information, yes, yeah. That's fine, so,
Can I just say a word?
absolutely.
If this, well, we go ahead with this. And because of my role as a volunteer with the National, which I've been for 21 years now, I will make sure that we take some photographs of that and roll that out nationally through our national magazine. Most of us that are out in the field are volunteers anyhow, because we want to focus on rain harvesting. And to me, that's just an example coming from Taunton. Because what you won't know is that Taunton is quite unique as a council with the way that it runs its allotments.
Okay.
It's the envy of many councils. I've been as far as Leeds City promoting the Taunton model.
What is it about our model that's
Yours
so
is unique in so much because of the size of the community and the number of allotments involved. They are all totally self-managed. So they're run by the people. That is unique for its size. And most councils in the UK that have the responsibility of doing it and the financial incumbents of doing it would love to do it the way that Taunton does it. And we've been doing it since the 1920s. You know, some of these, and they're all registered associations, completely controlled. It is quite unique. And I've been very privileged to create nearly 70 allotment sites in the west of England on that model. So I'm quite proud of that, and I think Taunton should be proud of it as
I
well.
didn't realise we were such trailblazers.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's need to shout about that.
Even when you, years ago, when you created a policy, a strategy, that was copied throughout the UK unknowingly. It was just that we automatically used, and many councils modelled themselves on that because of this community involvement. And the rain harvesting plays a big part with that. And I think once we get these up and we start to get the word out, it will run national as the other things have. And I'll keep quiet now.
So it sounds like a really sensible project. Yeah, you know, having better water resources for garden plots just seems, I can't believe that it hasn't been done before, to be honest.
Yeah.
So well done for stepping up and organising it.
Well, we do encourage individual plot holders to do it themselves, but then not everyone has a shed or a greenhouse or a polytunnel in order to get the runoff.
Yeah.
So this is, in a way, you know, if we start to do this, it's a kind of part of an educational thing that we want to do. When we get new people coming in and putting up sheds, we now insist that they capture the rainwater. We used to suggest, we now insist that's what we should be doing. And also in education, we talk really about what other things they can do in order to preserve their own plots. The kind of mulching of sites in order to reduce the evaporation from the plot. And also not everything that we grow has equal demands on the rainwater that's collected. Some plants can need lots of water, but not all. And so we can educate people over time. Immediately, we have this problem with having mains water, which is now increasingly a big part of our expenditure. This year, in a way, we were fortunate in that we had some very heavy rain towards the end of our financial year, and so our water went down. But the previous year, we were talking about perhaps 40% of everything that we bring in as income and goes out to Wessex Water, and we just can't afford that to keep that going.
On that point, I'm amazed at the prices that you charge, which seem an absolute bargain. £8 for a plot fee, £18 for a full plot. You said you've kept your prices low, which I appreciate is a fantastic benefit for the communities, the allotments. Had you considered, and this is kind of separate from the grant that we're thinking of awarding, but had you considered increasing your plot fees or your membership? I don't know what impact you think that would have on your uptake.
Well, we've shied away from doing that really because we want to keep it open to anyone who goes on the list. And we do have a waiting list of about generally around 30-40 people on there at the moment. Last year we just about broke even. The year before we lost a little bit of money, but we do. This water is the one thing we can't really control. We can't control the climate, so we have to, But other things we manage our resources pretty well, I think. Occasionally we will get major expenses. We have responsibility for the hedge which runs along the bridle path, the side of the lot leading on to Freesale Community Orchard. The cost of doing that last year, trimming that hedge last year, was over £2,000. But that's an exceptional item. We wouldn't expect to be doing that again for quite a few years. But I think we'd like to maintain what we have. Well, it is cheap, relatively. People are often surprised when they sign up that they can't believe that what they're being told that's an annual amount that they're being paid. They think it's like every month.
Yes,
no,
that was my assumption.
But it's enough for us to maintain, quite, I think, quite healthy balances. Obviously, at the moment, if you saw the last bank statement, we look to be terribly well off. But that's because simply the way that our cash flow works, that we get all our membership renewals going through in October, November time, new people signing up, and then we start the expenses. We pay out, our water rates, we pay our affiliation to the National Association, we pay our rent to the council, and that's something else we need to look at because we are now paying our rent just to Somerset Council. Previously, we paid to Somerset West and Taunton, and eventually it will presumably transfer across to yourselves. But at the moment, we're rather held up by the land registry.
Right.
We have great problems with the land registry. The lease that we now are working to came into being on January the 1st, 2021. We haven't had the documents back from the land registry since then. That's 3 years now. We've been waiting. So,
Right.
but
One of the big advantages when you talk about the costing is why it's so low really is because so much is input by the members. That's just the whole beauty of the model, the self-managed bit. It really is, if you start to put that, even just the mere process of, if you were to invoice as a council would to each member and then get the money in, that almost doubles that fee. So if we're paying £30, the average council would have to charge about 60 just to cover the administration. So really, we just keeping it as it's always been on a very affordable basis, given that people are prepared to do something toward it.
because we're self-managed, the only involvement that the council has is to receive the money once a year, and that's a direct debit. So in fact, there's very little work.
Councillor Ellis.
Not really a question, just a comment. I'm a member for North Town, and it's fantastic that we've got such brilliant independent allotment associations around Taunton, especially Turners, and I think it's a brilliant project. And with that, shall I do the honours? I'd like to propose that we award £2,000 towards this project.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Deakin. All those in favour? So it's
Thank you.
2,000.
Thank you, councillor.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
Perhaps if we may, we'll keep you posted about the way we follow this throughout the UK.
Absolutely, yeah, please do. Finally, have an application from the Creative Innovation Centre CIC with Richard Holt.
Stops there.
hiding around the corner. I sort of had a cough earlier, but oh yes. Thank you
Squeezing us in.
thank you very much.
Hi, yeah, so we received the application and had a look through that. A little bit of background context to this application because it goes back about a year ago to do with Somerset West and Taunton and the cultural strategy. So it's a part of the continuity with the Arts Hub pilot. And as a part of that particular pilot, which was ran for 2 years, we looked at over 200 stakeholders across the council area. And with regards to the delivery, which is pretty much documented in the application, 5 core arts groups, 2 have been represented here tonight as well, delivered collectively this programme. That's had an impact of over 150 young people. But one of the key areas in evaluation was really about the professional updating of the delivery partners. So each of those partners are not-for-profit organisations. They're not funded through the public purse, and therefore their own professional updating is done at cost in relationship to their delivery. So this programme, as I say, going back to last year, really identified where were those key areas that we need to be looking at. And those 3 CPD programs are identified in this application. One's safeguarding, Thrive, which is trauma based. So again, you heard from Go Create, but the work that Sally does at Holcombe as well includes young people that have trauma as part of their history and development. And so it's absolutely key that we put this in as a part of a workforce and the development of that workforce with this project going forward. And so that's the sort of context and background really to this application. I'll leave it.
We're going on some questions. Councillor Ellis.
2 questions I've written. Yeah, first question, Richard, is so the 5 organisations who were bits Go Create, isn't it, and SYT, Bluebirds, Kick It, Fuse, or have I got that right? Is that right?
Yeah, they're all listed there, but yeah.
And how within that, so because I know they probably a lot of those organisations were bringing in new artists all the time. So will there be an element of it where people who maybe haven't been part, like artists or practitioners, that they'll be able to get their first sort of thing? And
so safeguarding is absolutely key.
Yeah.
So, although PICIC has its own safeguarding policy, so does Go Create, so does SYT, but we're all different. And I think from regards to continuity in support of these programs, which are quite high value programs, we need to have continuity in the way in which we approach, these critical areas. We can't mess around with this stuff, it's absolutely crucial.
So probably how many people do you think would be on the programme in terms of the?
Well, I think we've got, I've put down there 5 trainees over 5 days, but actually you've got, KIC's workforce is 5 in total anyway in delivery. So we would be looking to give you an example. So the safeguarding is going to be run by Somerset Youth Theatre, and that would be a day's delivery for possibly about 15 practitioners who are in delivering right now. So it's about getting that policy and that updating.
Understood. So this is, I mean, it is obviously critical in terms of you've got to have the people, you know, people with the right skills and it's about updating and all that. But if you've heard the preamble, Amber's preamble at the beginning, and you can see where this is going in terms of the funding available to us right now on this small grant programme.
There is a hierarchy in this, in the CPD being proposed. So safeguarding is, you know, it's not a question. Thrive, I think, is absolutely paramount in regard to the young people that we're delivering to. So I heard Ukrainian groups being discussed earlier, and you know, and also in the home ed groups, and in the health and well-being. So if there was a reduction in you know, money available on this particular programme, I'd be prioritising safeguarding and Thrive. The other one is actually in the Harmony programme, which is embedding mindfulness into creative practice, which could be the youth provision grant.
Is there, so obviously we wouldn't be able to offer the scroll back to see the amount, the full amount was asked for, it's considerably more than we have left in the pot. Is there any way of expanding this to include other organisations that may have some funding to increase the number of participants?
Yeah.
To like more than those 5 organisations who then would be able to add to that.
So TICA, for example, would be an obvious. Yeah.
That's a viable project to be able to deliver everything you want to deliver using a wider pool of people who would then be able to benefit from the same training and then kind of cope up with the costs.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I don't think obviously you've got lots of contacts, but I don't think that's something that's beyond work for the project.
We would open it out. You know, and just mention there, you know, KitKicks, tutors are broad, but they're not specific to young people.
Yeah.
So, but they dip in and out of the programs with the other organisations. So yeah, it'd be about bolstering up the present provision with the community arts engagement. Yeah.
Shall I make a proposal? I definitely see the need for this because I had a lot of feedback from other groups as well about the importance of having more, you know, it's great to get like creative practitioners involved, but they are working with very vulnerable people, and so but even for their own sort of safety as well, it's important that they have those tools and that knowledge. So I'd like to propose a grant of £2,000 towards this project.
Do I have a second of that proposal? Councillor Deakin, all those in favour? Thank you very much for your patience for waiting.
Certainly. We've done quite efficiently, I think. I thought we were on the clock. 9:30, I'll see you 9:30.
Yes, that's what I said. Thanks to everyone for being very succinct and doing your cases and point together.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.